The underdog steps into the arena. The roar of the crowd was deafening. Thousands of alien voices merged into a single, mocking chant as Jake "Tiny" Reeves walked onto the arena floor. The energy dome above shimmered, casting eerie light across the enormous coliseum. He felt every eye in the place boring into him, measuring him up, and finding him laughable. "Is this the best Earth can send?" jeered a voice from the stands. Laughter rippled through the crowd, blending with the rumbles of enormous scar warriors. Jake clenched his fists, feeling the cool, reassuring hum of his combat suit's power core vibrating against his skin. The sleek, black suit was state-of-the-art technology, but right now it felt like little more than a thin layer of hope against the brute force of his opponent. Across the arena, Gorith, a hulking scar warrior, flexed his muscle-bound arms. He stood at least 10 feet tall, his blue-green skin gleaming under the arena lights. "Look at him," Gorith sneered, his deep voice carrying over the noise. "I expected a fighter, not a bug." Jake's jaw tightened. A bug? That's what they all thought. His mind flicked back to the endless hours of training, to the moment he had volunteered to represent Earth in this tournament. A desperate gamble for the survival of his planet. He was smaller than most warriors, yes, but he wasn't here to match strength with these alien brutes. He was here to outthink them. "Stay focused, Reeves." General Harper's voice crackled in his earpiece, steady and calm. "This fight isn't about size. Remember what we practiced. Use your speed." Jake nodded, barely aware of the motion. His heart pounded, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. Earth's future rested on this fight. Lose, and the Scar would claim the planet as theirs. Billions of lives hung in the balance. He couldn't afford to mess this up. Gorith slammed his fists together, the sound like thunder reverberating through the arena. "I'll crush you, human. You won't last a minute." "Let's see about that," Jake muttered under his breath, more for his own benefit than Gorith's. He could feel his legs trembling, but he planted his feet firmly on the arena's hard, metallic floor. The ground beneath him seemed to hum with anticipation, as though the very arena was waiting for the carnage to begin. The alien crowd was restless, eager for blood. Jake could hear their voices, their cruel anticipation, like waves crashing against the shore of his thoughts. But he shut them out. "Focus." Gorith lunged without warning. His massive fist shot forward, aiming directly for Jake's head. Instinctively, Jake dropped to the ground, rolling beneath the blow. The air above him cracked as Gorith's punch missed by inches, slamming into the energy shield that lined the arena. Sparks flew as the barrier absorbed the impact. Jake leaped to his feet, breathing hard. The crowd gasped in surprise. He'd lasted longer than they'd expected. But this was just the beginning. His mind raced, calculating. He couldn't let Gorith catch him. One direct hit, and it would be over. He wasn't here to win on strength. He was here to outsmart the brute, to turn his size into an advantage. General Harper's voice returned through his earpiece. "Good move, Jake. Keep dodging, make him tire out. He's too reliant on power." "I know," Jake replied, his eyes never leaving Gorith. "But I'll need more than dodging to win this." Gorith growled, his patience wearing thin. "Quit dancing and fight, human." He swung again, this time faster, more aggressive. But Jake was ready. He sidestepped, feeling the rush of air as Gorith's fist missed its target once more. A bead of sweat dripped down Jake's forehead. He could feel the tension rising, both in his body and in the crowd. The alien audience was no longer laughing. They were watching now, eyes wide, as the human continued to evade their champion. Gorith roared in frustration, but Jake knew the real battle had just begun. This fight wasn't about brute strength. It was about endurance, tactics, and heart. And Jake had plenty of that. Strategy in the face of brutality. Gorith's next attack came faster, his massive fists sweeping across the arena like wrecking balls. Jake dodged to the side, barely avoiding the blow as the crowd roared, now more invested in the spectacle than ever. The Scar Warrior was furious, and that was exactly what Jake needed. "Come on, little human, stand still for once." Gorith's voice boomed, his frustration clear in every strained word. He charged again, his footsteps shaking the ground, but Jake darted out of range. The gap between them widened as Jake moved with agility, always one step ahead of the lumbering giant. "Stay nimble, Jake. He's getting sloppy." General Harper's voice crackled in his earpiece, calm and steady. "You're wearing him down. I can feel it," Jake whispered, his breath quick but controlled. Sweat ran down his back beneath the combat suit, the heat of the moment intensifying with every second. He could see it now, the slight lag in Gorth's movements, the way his massive arms no longer swung with the same precision. It was working, but this fight was far from over. With a roar, Gorth pounded his fists into the ground, sending a tremor through the arena. The energy barrier sparked violently, reacting to the sudden force. Jake staggered, barely keeping his balance as the floor quaked beneath him. He glanced up just in time to see Gorth hurtling toward him again. The impact came too fast. Gorth's arm clipped Jake's shoulder, sending him sprawling to the ground. The breath left his lungs in a painful rush, and for a split second, the arena spun around him. Pain flared through his side, but he forced himself to roll away before Gorth's next strike could land. The ground where he had just been standing exploded in a shower of sparks as Gorth's fists smashed into the energy barrier. "Get up, Jake!" Harper's voice barked in his ear, sharp with urgency. Gritting his teeth, Jake scrambled to his feet, blinking through the pain. He could feel his shoulder throbbing, but there was no time to focus on that. He had to think. Fast. Gorth loomed over him, breathing hard, his glowing eyes fixed on Jake with murderous intent. "You're tougher than I thought, human," he growled, stepping closer, his voice low and dangerous. "But it won't be enough." Jake wiped the sweat from his brow, forcing a smile despite the ache in his body. "You talk too much, Gorth." The alien's eyes narrowed, and for a brief moment, there was a flicker of doubt in his expression. Jake knew that look. Gorth was used to easy victories, to opponents who crumbled beneath his strength. But Jake hadn't come here to be another one of his conquests. His mind raced as he studied Gorth's stance, looking for an opening. The Scar's brute force was his greatest weapon, but it was also his greatest weakness. He relied on it too much, expecting every fight to be over in minutes. But Jake had made it this far by playing to his strengths, his speed, his quick thinking. "Harper," Jake muttered under his breath, "I need more than dodging right now. Got any tricks left in this suit?" "You're nearing full charge on the pulse boost," Harper replied. "Just keep him busy a little longer." Gorth charged again, and Jake sidestepped, but this time he was ready. He moved with purpose, guiding the Scar toward the arena's edge. Gorth, blinded by rage, followed without hesitation, his massive fists swinging wildly. "Almost there," Jake muttered. He could feel the hum of his suit's power core building, the energy surging through his limbs. The pulse boost, a short, concentrated burst of energy, would give him the speed and strength he needed to land a decisive blow. But it wasn't quite ready yet. Gorth's next swing narrowly missed Jake's head, the force of it sending a gust of wind past his face. The Scar stumbled as Jake ducked low, spinning around to face his opponent's unprotected side. One more opening. Just one more second. Jake's pulse quickened as the energy core in his suit reached full charge. The next move would have to count. The turning point. Adrenaline surged through Jake as he felt the pulse boost charge at its peak. He took a deep breath, focusing all his energy on the task ahead. Gorth, still seething from his missed punches, had finally realized that Jake wasn't going down easily. The Scar warrior paused, his breath coming in heavy, labored gasps, the anger in his eyes replaced by the dawning realization that he was being outmaneuvered. "You're fast, human," Gorth grunted, wiping the sweat from his brow with a massive forearm. "But speed won't save you forever." Jake knew better than to respond. Words were wasted on a creature who had yet to grasp that cunning could outmatch brute force. Instead, he feigned a retreat, darting backward and drawing Gorth into a chase once more. The Scar's massive feet thundered against the ground, the vibrations rattling through Jake's bones. "Fool!" Gorth bellowed, charging again. This time, Jake didn't sidestep. Instead, he leaped up, channeling the energy from the pulse boost into a single, explosive jump. He soared over Gorth's head, feeling the rush of air as the giant swiped beneath him. Jake landed behind Goreth, feeling a surge of exhilaration. In that moment, he seized his opportunity. He turned, channeling the remaining energy in his suit, and launched forward. With a speed he had never felt before, Jake closed the distance, unleashing a swift kick to Goreth's knee. The impact sent shockwaves up his leg, and for the first time, the Scar warrior staggered. "Not so tough now, are you?" Jake shouted, emboldened by the success of his attack. Goreth roared, fury igniting anew. He swung around, but Jake was already moving, dancing just out of reach. He felt alive, invigorated by the challenge, the thrill of taking on a foe who towered over him. Every evasion brought him closer to victory, and he could almost taste it. "Keep moving." Harper's voice resonated in his ear, laced with urgency. "Don't let him get his footing back." The crowd was wild now, a cacophony of alien shouts and cheers, but Jake tuned them out. This was his moment, and he needed to stay focused. He darted to the left, then right, creating a confusing pattern for the giant. He could see the weariness creeping into Goreth's stance. The Scar was slowing down, but his pride wouldn't allow him to admit defeat. "Come on, Goreth!" Jake taunted, his breath steady despite the exertion. "Is that all you've got?" With a furious growl, Goreth charged again, but this time Jake anticipated the move. He slid beneath the warrior's outstretched arm, feeling the wind of its passage rush past him. As Goreth stumbled forward, Jake seized his chance. He sprang up, putting every ounce of energy into a powerful uppercut aimed at Goreth's jaw. The impact echoed in the arena, and for a heartbeat, time seemed to freeze. The crowd fell silent, watching in stunned disbelief as Goreth's head snapped back, his colossal form teetering. Jake took a step back, disbelief mingling with hope. "Stay down!" Jake yelled, his voice hoarse but fierce. But Goreth wasn't finished yet. He straightened, fury blazing in his eyes, and bellowed, "You will pay for that." He swung his arm wide, aiming to crush Jake with a single blow. In that moment, Jake's instincts kicked in. He ducked, rolling to the side just as Goreth's fist crashed into the ground. Dust and sparks erupted, obscuring Jake's vision for a moment, but he didn't need to see. He could feel the vibration through the ground, could sense Goreth reeling from the effort. "Now!" Jake heard Harper shout, and the command spurred him into action. Jake sprinted forward, using the last remnants of the pulse boost to propel himself into a leap. He targeted Goreth's shoulder, aiming for the point where the massive warrior's defenses were weakest. With a final cry of determination, Jake landed a blow that sent shockwaves through the giant's frame. Goreth stumbled, crashing to one knee. The arena erupted, the alien crowd erupting into a mixture of astonishment and rage. "You think you can win?" Goreth gritted through clenched teeth, but his voice was strained, his body shaking under the weight of disbelief. Jake looked into the Scar's eyes, the defiance slowly draining from them. "I don't just think I can win. I will win." As Goreth faltered, Jake saw the tides of fate shifting. His heart raced. The end was in sight. Victory and resolve. Goreth's massive frame shook as he knelt before Jake, fury mixed with disbelief clouding his features. The arena was silent, an electrified hush enveloping the crowd as they absorbed the sight of their champion brought low by a mere human. Jake's heart thundered in his chest, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. "Is this how it ends for you, Goreth?" Jake taunted, his voice steady, yet edged with the thrill of victory. A mighty warrior, reduced to a kneeling brute? Goreth's lips curled into a snarl, his pride stung deeper than any physical blow. "You may have bested me today, human," he spat, each word dripping with contempt. "But this is not over. The Scar do not forget." Jake took a step back, adrenaline flooding through him. The cheers of the crowd roared back to life, a wave of sound crashing over the arena. "I'm not afraid of your empty threats," he called out, feeling the strength of unity in their voices. "Today, we stand as equals. Today, you learn what humanity is capable of." Goreth pushed himself up with a growl, his massive fists clenching. "You think you've won?" This is merely a setback. Before Jake could respond, Harper's voice blared through his earpiece. Jake, keep your distance. He's still a threat, even if he's on one knee. Jake nodded, fully aware of the danger. I know, but I can't let him regain his composure. He glanced at the spectators, their eyes wide with anticipation. They were all waiting for him to deliver the final blow, but he hesitated. This wasn't just about victory. It was about sending a message. Gorith staggered to his feet, the rage returning to his eyes. You think this is a lesson? You have no idea who you're dealing with. Jake squared his shoulders, ready to defend against another charge. Then let's see how well you can learn. In an instant, Gorith lunged again, but this time Jake anticipated the move. He sidestepped and swung his leg in a low kick that caught the Scar off balance. Gorith stumbled, crashing into the energy barrier that pulsed around the arena, the force of his weight causing it to spark violently. Jake seized the opportunity. He launched himself into the air, gathering every ounce of energy he had left, and aimed a precise strike at Gorith's jaw. The Scar's head whipped back as the crowd erupted into cheers and gasps, the momentum shifting in Jake's favor. You're not invincible, Jake shouted, the power of his words mingling with the cheers of the crowd. This is a new era for humanity. With each blow, Jake felt the tide of the battle shifting, and Gorith's confidence wavered. The Scar warrior's ferocity began to ebb as fatigue set in. He swung wildly, desperation evident in his movements, but Jake was faster, more agile. Is this all you've got? Jake taunted again, pushing the Scar further into a corner. Gorith snarled, his breath coming in ragged gasps. I will not be humiliated by you. With a final surge of energy, Jake feigned left and then pivoted, launching himself toward Gorith's exposed side. He drove his fist into the Scar's ribs, feeling the impact resonate through his body. Gorith let out a pained roar, the sound echoing throughout the arena as he finally crumpled to the ground, unable to rise again. The silence was deafening for a heartbeat before the crowd erupted in a deafening roar of applause and cheers. Jake stood tall, chest heaving, the reality of his victory washing over him in waves. He had faced a giant and emerged victorious, not just for himself, but for humanity. He glanced around at the sea of faces, the myriad of alien spectators, their eyes wide with shock and admiration. Jake realized then that this was more than just a battle. It was a demonstration of resilience, strategy, and the indomitable spirit of humanity. As he caught his breath, he heard Harper's voice again, softer now, filled with pride. You did it, Jake. You really did it. Jake smiled, the weight of the moment settling in. Yeah, but this isn't just my victory. It's ours. He looked at the crowd, raising his arms high in triumph. Together, we can face anything. The cheers rose again, a sound that resonated deep within him. This battle was over, but the message was clear. Humanity would not be underestimated. They had faced adversity and emerged stronger, united in their resolve. As the dust settled and the crowd began to disperse, Jake knew this was just the beginning. New alliances would form, and new challenges would arise. But no matter what came next, he was ready to fight, ready to lead.